Greece emerged from its worst economic crisis more than a decade ago, but now it appears to be on the brink of another crisis due to continuing population decline. Economists warn that years of declining birth rates, economic crises and mass emigration is hurting the future of the country, partly because there won't be enough young people working to ensure growth in future generations and support an aging population. The population decline is reflected in the growing number of ghost villages across the country. These are villages with almost no residents left and were abandoned when the local population left or died. For example, in the mountain village of Lasta, which now has an abandoned square, empty schools and crumbling houses, and according to the last census, 12 people live there. The lack of residents is also noticeable in the local cafe, where there is no one to work and it operates on a blind trust system, so that the customers, consisting mainly of tourists, leave a donation in exchange for coffee. It is difficult to quantify exactly the number of these abandoned villages, which are often located in remote areas, but according to recent estimates, there are close to 200 villages that have been completely abandoned. The birth rate in Greece is among the lowest in Europe, at 1.3 children per woman, while a birth rate of 2.1 is needed just to maintain the population. Last year, the country recorded just 71,400 births, the lowest number since records began nearly a century ago, and a 6% drop from 2022. This means that there is one birth in Greece for every 2 deaths, and the proportion of the population over 65 is almost double that of the population aged 0 to 14. According to government estimates, the population could fall from around 10.4 million today to 7.5 million by 2050, a drop of more than a quarter. The demographic crisis began with the debt crisis that broke out in 2009, which led to years of austerity policies and financial difficulties in the country. Young people have been among the biggest victims of this slowdown, and in the first quarter of 2013, youth unemployment there was a record of almost 60%. As a result, many of the young unemployed have chosen to leave the country. According to estimates, more than 400,000 people, representing about 9% of the workforce, left during the period in question. Many of those who remained have migrated to the big cities in search of better jobs and education. Today, 53.5% of the Greek population lives in Greater Athens and the country's second-largest city, Thessaloniki. In contrast, other regions, including the islands, have seen a real contraction in the number of residents in recent years. Our population is one of the oldest in Europe, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis admitted last year, even warning of an existential threat to Greek society. In an attempt to curb the trend, the Prime Minister established a new Ministry for Family Affairs last year. In October, the ministry announced a budget of $21 billion until 2035 that will finance incentives to increase the birth rate, including child benefits, extended maternity leave and tax benefits. Greece can perhaps take solace in the fact that it is not alone in this trend. Many developed countries are grappling with shrinking populations, including Japan and South Korea, where the birth rate last year was 1.2 and 0.7 per woman, respectively.